Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of So Zoom In. Today is October 10th, 2024. 10/10. That does sound like a magical day, but today is a magical day because you are in it and we are here right now. So thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking to the writer, director, producer, and lead actress of the new movie, Your Vote Matters. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lauren.
How are you doing?
Thanks so
Good.
much for joining.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
And the pink jacket, I love it.
Of course, it's Anna.
You were so adorable in that movie. Oh my gosh, I just loved you so much. It was very
Oh,
good. So,
that's so sweet. I appreciate that.
so you're also in New York?
Yes, yeah.
Which part of New York are you in?
I live in Tribeca. There was just like they had the 9/11 memorial, and I live right by the World Trade Center. So there were all of these, our whole street was actually blocked off because everybody was coming into town for the memorial. So that was crazy.
How long have you been in that area?
For almost 2 years.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty new then. Well,
Yeah. Great though. It's like really safe and very walkable, lots of parks nearby.
okay. Well, now that the craziness of COVID has kind of calmed down a little bit, is
Yeah.
a lot more freedom or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really nice now.
okay, good. As long as we can maintain that freedom,
Yeah.
And David, which part of New York are you in?
I'm in Port Jervis, which is where we filmed the film, the tri-state border between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York.
And how's the climate going on over there right now, weather-wise and politically?
Weather-wise, well, it's getting cooler. Politically, it's a small town, but the town supervisor, because I'm not actually in Port Jervis, I'm just outside in a place called Huguenot, and they don't even have a mayor. It's a town supervisor. He's a good guy.
Good. As long as we want good people, that's for sure. And we actually need politicians like Anna.
Yeah.
After watching the movie, where it's not about the party, it's about the person. I think
And I haven't met the mayor of Port. I met the old mayor of Port Jarvis, but what happened was he was voted out. So we filmed in December, so he was still the mayor. And then after the new mayor came, and I haven't met the new mayor, but apparently they're pretty nice too.
oh, good. Okay, well, nice is good. Effective is better. You know, nice and effective is great. That's a combination.
Well, the
I,
outgoing mayor had been there for 10 years. So
okay.
Everybody.
hi,
James, good
James.
morning. Oh, is that your coffee? All right, I got my coffee too. So cheers.
Yep, I got some green tea right here. Cheers,
Oh, great.
everybody.
So thank you so much for doing this. I'm really proud of all of you. And I've known David for a while now. And I've noticed about David when he gets an idea in his mind, he really goes for it. And I find that very inspiring. And so for him to write the script and direct it and literally bring all of you together, making a film, no matter what level it is always a challenge. So first of all, kudos to all of you for making it happen. That's exciting. So you guys have embarked on a very, oh, how do I want to say this? It's gonna have people going, what? Just from the title alone, your vote matters. Because this country right now is so divided. You either have to be Democrat or you have to be Republican. And your story is like, well, why can't we just be who we are? And personally, I love that. And I want to kind of get started with Lauren, because being an actress, you put yourself out there and no matter what kind of movie you do, it's always going to lead to the next project. And I thought you were just absolutely adorable and fantastic in this movie. You're such a talented and beautiful actress. And I just want to get what your take was. One, when you first read the script, what your thoughts were, as you were filming, and what you thought of your performance once it was done, and then after you saw the film.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll take it back even further. I still remember seeing the casting call for Anna Summers and reading like, white brunette, owns a clothing boutique and decides to run for mayor and thinking like, wow, that would be such a cool character to play. But there's absolutely no way that I'll book it. Like maybe I should apply for one of the supporting roles. And I remember like, I was thinking a lot about the character and I decided to do the audition with like a pink pantsuit, because I was like, of course, like she owns a clothing boutique. Like this girl's fashionable. Why would she be a stuffy politician? And then I remember when I talked to James and David later about my audition, they were like, yeah, you took this character and made her way more comedic than we were anticipating. But to me, like that was just always how Anna should be. Like this is her background. Like she's going to be herself running for politics. She's not trying to be anybody besides herself. And I think that was what spoke to me so much about Anna, was that she is exactly the type of person that we should see in modern day politics. And I think that I've talked about this a little bit as we've been like doing press around the film, but I come from a very political family, and my mom actually ran for Congress. So I responded a lot to the script because I know exactly what it takes for women to run in politics, but also how difficult it is. And my mom had a really hard journey running for Congress herself. She was very much the underdog, and she had a really hard time getting financing on her campaign. She ran in a super gerrymandered district and she lost twice. So reading the script, I knew exactly how Anna felt because I had gone through that with my mom as well. So not only did it feel like very personal to my own background, but it also just felt like a character that I could really resonate with and something that I'd be really excited to see, in the marketplace.
And how did you feel about the message or your character in the film as an actress?
Yeah, well, I think that, it's true. Your vote does matter. And I think today we've all talked about obviously the national election that's coming up, and it's sort of like everything that everyone can talk about, but the local elections are just as important, if not more important, because they're the ones that you really do see a difference in within your own communities. So I think it's so important that we are starting to talk more about these local elections and the people that are running for office. And I'm glad to see somebody like Anna, who doesn't come from a very political background at all, or somebody who doesn't come from a ton of wealth, because I think it is these types of people who really care about their community and want to see a difference that we should see running for politics.
So do you feel that with local politics, there really is the opportunity to have that change to make it about the people?
I absolutely do. I think that it absolutely should be that way. We laugh about Jonathan Andrews' character if you've seen the movie, when he sort of hysterically laughs at, oh, politics is for the people. Yeah, right. But I think that's what it should be, and that's why we have a political system in general, to be able to actually help people. So I think that it's important when you are voting to make sure that you actually like the person that you're voting for, and that is a person who you think that is going to make a difference in your own community.
Well, I would think right now a lot of young people are very jaded by the system. They really don't want to have anything to do with politics. You being a very young person yourself, what would you say to those young people to get them inspired to want to get out and vote?
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, I'm from a political family. So I've been going to political functions since I was literally 2 years old. And I remember being 14 and 15, attending events with my mom, being like, this is the most boring thing. Like, why am I here? But then as I started to get older, I actually saw how important the political system is and how fun it can also be. And I think that it's important to know, as a young person, you're actually, when you vote, you're making a huge difference for yourself, but also everyone around you. And I think that's something that young people don't realize, is how much your vote actually does matter, and how important it is to be involved within your community and trying to make a difference within that. And like I said, I understand that because I was young and I remember what it was like to be so bored by the system, but I don't think it has to be boring. And I think that's kind of the message of the film, that politics doesn't need to be boring. And I think that's why this film is told in a comedic tone, because it should be fun, it should be lighthearted, and it should be something that starts a conversation.
Right. And the movie is entertaining as well, which is really nice. It's lighthearted, it's entertaining, but you also get the message without being slammed over your head, which I really like. So David, good job with that. Really nice job with that. All right. So do you see yourself pursuing a political career or as an actor, or have you influence with politics through your acting like we see so many celebrities doing, or do you keeping it separate? What are your views as an actor?
It's actually so funny you say this, because I don't think I've ever even said this to David or James, but when I was in college, I remember thinking oh, this acting career is so difficult. Maybe I should just go into politics like everyone in my family. And I remember thinking okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to politics, until I studied at the British American Dramatic Academy, where I fell in love with acting. I was like, this is absolutely what I have to do. But yeah, I completely agree with you that I don't think they need to be separate. And I think it is important to use your voice, because when you have a career in entertainment, you have a lot more access to people. So yeah, I always hope to use my platform for activism and talking about what's important.
And I love that. And that's a great way to reach so many people. And we're seeing that in movies. We're seeing that not always the most positive light, but to see something like this where it is positive and can get people excited about voting. I find that exciting. So I look forward to seeing you on so many more projects. I think you are wonderful. All right. So right during filming, what was it like working with David and the other cast? And you're making this movie happen on a tight schedule. What was that like?
Oh, it was so much fun. We just had the best time. David leaves a lot of room for actors to play, which is something that I really appreciated. And I think because like we rehearsed ahead of time, we both had sort of the same sense of how the characters should be. He really trusts the actors that he brings in. So, there was never a moment where I felt stifled. I always felt like I could bring in my ideas for Anna. There were even times like where we would be working with the costumer and I would be like, David, I don't think that Anna would ever wear this. And he's like, yeah, well, you're Anna. So if you don't think Anna would wear it, then you're right. So it was just nice to have that sort of freedom. And I'm also a producer. So I got really close to James and Ted, who were the producers on the film, because we could kind of like go back and forth and talk about producing things. And I learned a lot from them. So I even actually, because I'm finishing up an MFA at Columbia, and David even helped me with my studies while we were on set. So it was both a great experience creatively, but also very helpful for my education into producing.
Oh, great. So we're going to see a lot more from you on a lot of different levels, it sounds like. This is
Hope
great.
so. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, David, great casting. James, excellent casting. So, David, how did you come about wanting to do this kind of film? What was your process like?
Well, the idea was actually inspired by a friend of mine who was running for a small town election in New Jersey. And she was telling me how she didn't realize how corrupt local politics was, and she couldn't imagine how bad things were in Washington. So I thought that was a really interesting place to have a story because A, it's affordable, but also it's not something that you see very often, a small town story. And I thought, well, this is something I could shoot basically where I'm living in this small town that has 9,000 people. I thought timing wise, because I thought about this last year in February. I came up with the idea. I think James was the first person I told James, and I told him about this idea, and he was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds kind of interesting." What do you remember about that, James?
Yeah, I remember. So David called, and the first thing I thought of was a movie about politics during such a polarized election year. It's going to be. So the first thing that I thought of, the story sounded really good, and it is really good. But then it's okay. Well, let's definitely are we coming at this from an educational standpoint? Are we coming at this, how entertaining are we going to make it? So it's all these thoughts, and yeah, I think David did a fantastic job of putting a movie together that is relatable to everybody, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It teaches people about politics because, like you were saying to Lauren with Lauren before, a lot of people don't know that much about the electoral process, mostly because it's taught in a very dry way a lot of times, and it can be a complicated process. But here we're teaching it through a narrative, and it's fun. Lauren did a fantastic job of bringing Anna to life and keeping it fun to watch. But yeah, so when David first brought the story up to me, the first thing I thought of was an election movie during an election. Let's do this. It's going to be fun.
Well, what I loved about it is that it's not about Democrats and it's not about Republicans. It's about doing something that you want to make a difference in. And that's what I loved. It's like you even make that clear. It's like, well, are you Democrat or Republican? You're asking these questions. And the character is just like, well, I want to make a difference. And I think that's what politics should be about. Let's make a difference for the people. She saw something wrong and she wanted to fix it. And I think that's brilliant because people lose sight of that. And through this story, which is very entertaining, and I love the music, and I love how it's so lighthearted, and it's filmed so light. You don't feel bogged down by politics, it makes a nice balance. So I think you did a wonderful job, in making it about the people, which it should be about.
Right, put the people first.
Right? What a concept. You
Mm.
know, so going back to James, as the producer, where you have to like bring all this together and bring funding to this, how difficult was it to get something like this funded, knowing how polarized people are when it comes to politics?
Well, so the core team had worked together before. We had worked on a TV show called Good Cop a couple of years ago, that David wrote, directed, and so the core team, myself, Teddy, my brother, David, and a few other people on Your Vote Matters had worked on a Good Cop. So we had that going for us. The team had worked together successfully, brought projects to completion. So we had that. We knew how we worked together. So when the project was presented, that was a big advantage in our favor. And both projects were on NTD, so we were familiar with the network. They were familiar with us. That made it a little easier in terms of that. And like you mentioned before, it was shot on a tight schedule, so we had to shoot the entire film essentially between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we had crew and cast coming in from all over the country. A lot of our cast was from New York, but our crew was from spread out all over the country, and holidays being what they are, people have to go back to families, and you don't want a 2 week gap between filming, in the middle of filming. So we knew we had to wrap it up really quickly. And the fact that we had all worked together before, we know each other's processes, greatly helped in allowing that to happen.
What would you say were your biggest obstacles in filming?
Biggest obstacles were probably in terms of getting the entire project done. It's just all the moving pieces, bring all the logistics. We shot this in Port Jervis, New York, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away from New York City. So it's just, like David said, it's a small town. Port Jervis was fantastic. It was great to shoot in. The mayor, everybody in Port Jervis was great to work with. Very, very helpful with us. Excited, everyone was excited for the film. So in terms of obstacles, it's just the logistics, bringing everything together and making sure everybody's where they need to be, when they need to be there, and building enough of a cushion for when things inevitably change on you. It could be weather conditions. It could be somebody's late, somebody missed, their train or whatever it is. You've got enough of a cushion there where you can adjust your schedule if you need to do it between our start and end date. That's usually one of the biggest challenges in putting any kind of film together. Certainly this one.
Well, yeah, because you're dealing with so many different types of people. All right, so I have to ask, now that it's done and it's a beautiful film, would you do it again if you had a chance to do this project again? That's always the tell.
Are you asking James or me?
I'm asking all of you. I mean, would you guys be willing to, if you had a chance to do the whole thing all over again?
Oh, I mean, no, absolutely. I love this film. I think I'm really happy with how it came out, and I just, I can't wait for the world to see it.
Okay. Well, I see sequel potential here. I actually see serious potential here. To follow a young girl in politics like this, and what her real dreams are and what she really wants to do. So I see a lot of possibilities with this. What do you see that beyond this film?
In terms of a sequel, yeah, there's I can imagine a whole bunch of different scenarios for what could be a sequel or even a sequel to the sequel. Um, Seeing how Anna plays when she gets elected, and how she has to deal with actually running a town or dealing with different problems and people and companies that want to cause mischief. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you could play with and expose and further dig into this world, because it's one that affects everybody, and it's one that a lot of people don't necessarily understand the nuances.
Right. But you really bring this to light. There are so many simple ways to deal with it, which I thought was really nice. It doesn't have to be so heavy. Where can people see your film? Because I think this is a type of film that people definitely need to see.
So NTD agree with you as well. So they're actually making this available for free during this election season. You can watch it at ntd.com. That's N for Nancy, T for Tom, D for David, ntd.com, or epochtv.com. But they're actually going to put it on YouTube and X and Rumble and all these other platforms for free as well. But if you do watch it on those platforms, there will be some advertisements,
Right.
whereas you can watch it ad free on ntd.com.
So approaching young people, like I was talking to Lauren about, because I think so many young people need to be aware of this too. Will this be shown with any schools or targeted at any high schools or universities?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. I think there's probably about 5 or 6 people that mentioned, "Hey, this would be great for education." And I think even Lauren's mother mentioned something about that when she read the script. Lauren, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, my mom loved the script. I had her read it because she knows so much about, she's a political science PhD, and she was a Fulbright scholar. So she knows everything about politics. So I had her read the script because I was like, so how accurate do you think it is? And she read it and she's like, this is 100% accurate. And people really need to understand this because so many people don't understand this. So my mom thought the message was really important. And I'm sure if she were still teaching, she would definitely bring it to her students.
Well, and how do you feel as an actress? You do a movie thinking it's for entertainment value and not really, education for education or heaven forbid propaganda. How does that make you feel?
You know, I really don't think that they should or need to be separate. Like, to me, it's actually very important to work on projects that do have some sort of social impact to them, because I think that entertainment is such an amazing way to teach people about things and to educate about important issues. So I'm so happy to work on a project that has this educational impact. To me, it's like incredibly fulfilling. And when people tell me that they've seen the film and that they learned something, I'm so glad that they could go on that journey with Anna, because I think, Anna's relatable. She's genuine. Like, I hope that Anna makes these types of topics a lot more accessible to people.
Right. And to be able to talk about it without getting angry and smashing
Yeah.
heads, which is nice. We need to have those kind of conversations again. I love Anna. Anna, she's very relatable. And the way that she really does, okay, first of all, you looked adorable, and you were shooting in the wintertime. You must have been freezing because you
Yes.
were so
Yes.
fashionable. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, her legs must be so cold.
There was always somebody like off camera with a coat. So that was very helpful because like as soon as we would get done a take, there would be somebody to wrap me in a coat or like go hide in a car. But yes, it was very cold. And that's the funny thing about watching yourself on film is that you remember like, oh God, I was so cold in that scene.
But I thought I could really see a young fashionista doing that. But no, bravo to you for doing such a beautiful job and the way you interacted with all the other actors and you really held your own. I really enjoyed it. And I would love to see a sequel because I really love Anna, and especially interacting with the young girl who had the drug problem. We can really see your arc where you genuinely care about this young lady and really want to make a difference. How what was that like for you when you saw this young girl who really needed help, knowing that she stole from you. She was like the bad guy, but you really came to see her in a different light. What was that like as the person, as Lauren versus Anna?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love Haley Cassidy. We're actually both from Philadelphia, so we really got to bond. And I think that's important because I knew Haley as a person. So when we were going through acting and rehearsing on it, we were comfortable enough with each other that it was okay to go deeper, and I could be straddling on top of her after tackling her with her crying below me, and it was okay. Like we were comfortable enough with each other to go through this sort of dramatic moment together. Um, yeah, I think that for Anna to go through that, that was actually something that was really striking for me after the premiere, was being able to see where Anna starts and then where Anna goes. And I think the character that Haley plays is really integral in Anna's journey going through that. Because I think like what Haley's character represents is like this. These are the people that matter. These are the people that you are fighting for. These are the people that you do run for office to help. And I think being able to put an issue to a person really showed Anna, like, this is why you run for office and this is why it's important to make a difference. So first of all, like it was incredibly impactful acting with her. And I think really helped for me to ground Anna as a character because, you know, like there is this side of Anna where she's playing with her handbags and she's squealing, but there's also this side of Anna where she's going through a debate and she's really having to hold her own in front of these people who are like pretty scary, you know? So I think that Haley's character really helped us to see why Anna's running for office and understand her mission behind this.
Well, I really love seeing Anna grow. We really saw her, you know, in a way from being a little more immature to really holding her own and wanting to really help people. Excuse me. I really love seeing that arc and for you to really follow through on that and really own it. And I think right now with this political season, a lot of people are very immature right now, you know? And they really get caught up in, oh, he's a liar, she's a liar. And then in the film, when you see something where you know it's a lie, do you? And I want to go back to what Lauren felt versus Anna too, because this is something people deal with in real life. You know, how did that make you feel? It's like that's a lie, but how do you deal with that in the moment?
Well, I think that it's important to do just what Anna did and rise above the lies and keep in mind, like, why are you running for office and what is your mission behind this? It's funny because when we were watching the film and the photoshopped pictures came out, my fiance turned to me and he's like, your foot is all messed up. Like, that's not what your foot looks like. I'm like, obviously, Brian, because this is a movie and this is exactly how Anna felt. The way that you're responding to this is how Anna felt. These pictures were not her and they were so obviously not her. But I think that's why it matters to know that, like, the second you get caught up in that type of thing and the second that you lower yourself to the immaturity of the other candidates, that's when it isn't about the people anymore. That's when it's just about politics and running for office. So I think that it's important to remember that you have to hold yourself to your own moral standard and make sure that your guiding light and your North Star in this is always the people.
See, you would make a great politician, you know, because you are so grounded. And I love, and being in the film business, it's a very ungrounded type of business. You know, wouldn't you agree, David? You know, everything is just so rocky and Hollywood is literally falling apart right now. So I think these kind of movies are more and more important where the independent spirit comes, where it's about the integrity of the film. And I am so proud of all of you because this movie does have integrity and you obviously can see the passion in it and you are sharing a message that I hope people get right off the bat while still being entertained. So so do you foresee a political career in your future? Like down the line, maybe? You're still very young.
I don't know that I can handle it. I think that I'm going to stick with entertainment, but I think it's always important, like I said, to talk about what's important to you. And I hope that I always am able to do that.
Well, you're doing a beautiful job, and I see a great future ahead of you. And you know, politics is changing too, just as the film industry is because of everything going on. So, what do you see next in your future, in your career? You're getting your MFA. What what do you see happening for yourself next?
Yeah, I have a few features that I'm working on in the spring that I'm very excited about. So I should be shooting through March through May. And yeah, I'm graduating early in February. So very excited about that. I started my own production company. So I hope to just continue acting and producing in projects that are important and can make a difference.
And you're having fun with it too. I love that. I could just see that beaming out of you. Of you always. As long as you always have fun with it, that's what matters. Okay, so David, all right, what's next for you, my friend?
I actually don't know right now. You know, I have a few things cooking, but you know, until you have money in the bank, nothing is actually certain in this industry. So yeah, you got to go out and hustle and try to get the next project going. I think it really just, if the word goes out and a lot of people like it and tell other people to watch it, then you know, this, I hope more people can see it, and if enough people see it, yeah, maybe a sequel, who knows. Sometimes you don't know where the best inspiration comes from, and you know, someone just sharing their personal story to me, and you know, that percolates, and I just think, okay, that could really be something. uh, but you don't always know exactly which way it's going to go when you have the idea. But seeing Lauren when she came into audition, I was like, you know, I did try to make this light and fun, but she really did bring such a strong comedic element that when I went to fill out the rest of the cast, I was like, no, I gotta get these characters that she can really, play off and bring it more into that funny comedic space.
Well, and then too, she's brilliant. She has this incredible mind as well as this incredible beauty. So I think that's like our new hero for women, beautiful and smart. You don't have to be, dumb to get ahead. So I love that. I love that kind of character for young women and young men to see, to see that women can be beautiful and smart. They don't have to be one or the other. So thank you for doing that. That writers can change the world, just by putting up stuff for people to see. So I think that's really important.
No, it's true. And I'm married to a very smart woman. She is a graduate of Harvard and Caltech in biophysics. So, and she has kind of like this photographic memory. She can remember books she read when she was 5, and she can just, if she reads a story once, she can tell you the story start to finish. Even if she read it like 5 years ago, or she watches a movie, she'll remember it. So it's not that fun if I want to rewatch something because she's like, I've already seen that. And then I think we put this, I think we put this movie on once where she goes, "We've seen this movie before." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, really?" And then she tells me what's gonna happen next, and then it happens. I'm like, "Oh, I, oh yeah, we saw this last year."
You have to keep coming up with new stuff then. That's good. That's good. Well,
Yes, exactly.
so how important is it having a team of people you really trust when you make a film?
Oh
Even
my
if
goodness. The team, I mean, you have to have a good team. You have to, it doesn't work if you don't have good people around you. And especially actors, the chemistry between them, how they are as people, not just as an actor, because the last thing you want is to be on set with someone and they're acting like a diva, or they're being difficult, or they're not really interested in the movie.
Mm.
They're just about themselves and like, oh, do I look good on camera? No, you want someone who's actually going on the same journey that you are. You want someone who cares about the message, who cares about the story, and really puts an effort into the character, who really does their homework. I mean, Lauren was learning 10 pages every night of the lines because she had, she had a lot of lines, and she was in every scene of the movie except for one. So there was no break for her. Like a lot of times on movies, you don't have that level of load. Um, and for Sal, who played Jonathan Andrews, he had mountains of lines. Uh, but he put the work in, and we actually finished some of the scenes early because he was so good. He nailed it on like every take. He didn't make any mistakes. I was like, who are you?
Right? That's the job of the actor. Now, did you find, because I've heard of this happening a lot on set, is people changing the script, either improvising scenes or changing things around. Did that happen, or were your actors very committed to what was on the page?
Well,
Or
I've stated from the beginning that this had to pretty much be on script because there was just too much terminology that if you were straying off, it may actually change the meaning, especially in politics. You can't just frivolously use any term you want, and there are different meanings. So yeah, the script supervisor we had was incredible. She was more detailed than anyone I've ever met. I mean, my goodness, she would say, "Well, there was just this one thing where they said this word instead of that word," and then I'm like, "Is that okay?" And then she was very tactful about it, though. She would come up to me after the take and would go through everything that they may or may not have said, and she was like my lifesaver, literally.
nice. Well, see, you were lucky having Lauren, who's already familiar with all the political terminology then. So that sounds like a
Yeah,
great.
I mean, Lauren is such a dream to work with, you know, so professional, so just so good and so committed. Because when you're doing comedy, you can't do it halfway. You're all the way in, or you're not gonna, it's not gonna work. And she never once broke character or felt awkward or like I couldn't see. She would just became Anna, and it was just such a joy to watch her performing because, yeah, she just had 100% committed. Just amazing.
All right. So what was the worst situation on set, or did you have one? Because I know things come up during filming.
I mean, there was times where there was two actors that were saying to us, "Oh, we can't go to set tomorrow or whatever." These were like day players, and me and James had to the night before find a replacement for those characters.
Ooh,
So, so it was a case of, "Hey, James, are you gonna make the call, or am I gonna make the call, and we're gonna see who can fill in for this."
okay. All right. So that if that was the worst, then you're doing okay. Was it
Yeah,
was
James, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you know, it goes back to the question you had asked earlier about the most challenging parts of shooting. And yeah, we knew we had a start date and an end date. There's not going to be an extension. We know that. The goal is to wrap this up on December 22nd was the exact date.
Mm.
So you've got to be prepared for if, I mean, no matter what can possibly happen, if an actor can't make it, like David said, or it could be weather conditions. We did have to shift our schedule a little bit due to one of our actors getting sick. So it was nothing major, but it was big enough where we had to, it was right at the end of our shoot and we had to shift things around a little bit. So we had to be prepared for all that. And I remember those days where the actors dropped down on us night before, like late the night before. And you've got to have, you know, you got to have your ability to call somebody up and be like, hey, this is the opportunity. It's tomorrow. Can you be here in a couple of hours, basically? And fortunately, we were able to get it done.
Yeah, they had to learn the lines and figure out their character the night before and show up on set ready to do it. And yeah, hats off to those actors who stepped in the last minute.
And they did a great job.
Nice. Well, when you're making a film, you really have to be prepared for anything, whether something not people not showing up. What else would you say you have to be on your toes for?
There's so many things that it's like you could write a book about all the things you have to think about. I like to be really prepared. So, especially me and James and Ted, you know, from as soon as we had a green light, they had already had all the schedule created, and they use something called Studio Binder, so they can print out the call sheets like literally from day one. They don't have to be made like by hand manually each day. And the looking at the schedule is really important to me as a director because I need to know how much time I have for each scene. I need to know that I try to I try to schedule things as much as I can in script continuity, because if you're giving the actors a chance to get to really know their character before you know you get to some of the meatier scenes, like I don't like the idea that you throw them into something that's really, really emotional and really important at the beginning because they haven't even really found their footing, found their character yet. So I try to keep things as much as possible in script continuity. It's not always possible because of the schedule. In this case, because it was December and it was really cold outside, we tried to shoot all the exterior scenes first so that, you know, at least the thinking was the first half of the month is probably warmer than the second half of the month. And so then in the second half, we pretty much were inside for the whole thing. So that way you're not thinking about, oh, I'm freezing. I mean, the day that they were doing the fight on the grass, it was really cold. I mean, it looks warm and the sun is out, but my goodness, it was really cold that day. And
Mm.
I don't know how those girls got through it, honestly.
It looked great. You know, you guys choreographed it really well too. That was that was very good.
I mean, I've got my thermal underwear on. I've got my long johns. I've got like five, I don't know, 4 layers of stuff, and you know they're acting in their little costumes. And I think in between takes, we're like, all right, go back in the house while we move. All right, let's go. And then to make it worse, you know, the sun sets at like 4:30, so we had to rush to shoot that end part because the sun was going down, and it was like Chelsea was like, oh, there was a little bit of continuity here. I'm like, all right, we just gotta keep shooting right now because I got like 5 minutes before the sun is gone.
And push it. Well, it came out really well. So, were you part of the editing process as well on the
Um,
film?
I worked with a great editor, Keith Crockett. He's done 26 features as an editor, and he's worked on some really big projects like Tropic Thunder. He was a VFX editor on Tropic Thunder, but he got to work with the team very closely that edited that film, and he brings a enormous attention to detail. So, and believe it or not, there was like 130 something effect shots on this.
Oh,
Some of them are quite simple, like chroma key, or but some other things like the social media stuff, or where there's the image in the TVs that had to be tracked into the TV, or simple stuff like that. But there was other things like, you know, boom removal, or actually because the trees didn't have any leaves on them, so tracked some leaves into some of the shots.
wow. Well, it's beautifully edited. Very well done. And an editor can really make or break your film. So he did a beautiful job.
And I
Yeah,
don't think the scenes got cut, right, David?
no.
Yeah, that's amazing. That never happens.
He did do a beautiful job, and you looked amazing in it. I mean, there was not a single bad shot of you at all. You know, so
Thank you.
that was great. You know, I'm really proud of this film. I'm really proud of all of you, you know, coming together, and you made a beautiful film. It's something that I can see being around for a very long time. You know, and people need to see it. That's all I can say. Is I don't care how old you are. It really has a beautiful message, and I see this doing really well. So congratulations to all of you. I hope it does extremely well so you get the funding to do a sequel. So I'm just putting that out into the universe now. So you never know, right? So
Yeah, never know. You know, fingers crossed. And
okay.
I just hope that the audience, you know, enjoys this and learns something. And as for anything else, you know, you never know. So you just put it out there.